I read a horrible
Carson's here. Hello, Carson.
Hi there, Charles.
Hey, Papa.
Hi. Didn't look like you lost that match.
Hi, Fred.
They're growing back. They're growing back. Jeez.
I never knew this place existed back here.
We're all
Cool.
in here.
Nick did this. Isn't it freaking awesome?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
I like the alligator underneath the little walkway there.
Where do we go?
Yeah, well, there's a few. Watch your back.
Lurking in the darkness.
Trump.
Hi.
I bet you there's some stories of people like lighting a cigarette or whatever and being in the swamp area where there's a methane leak coming out of there, like it's blowing, blowing themselves up. Money bank.
Hey, oh, this is so cool. This is really, really cool. Come on
You're
over, Top
welcome.
Boy.
I want.
We're in a different room?
Yeah,
We're in a different room. Hi, Pepper. Hello,
Hi.
man.
I'm
There
proud.
we go. All right. Cool beans. Crispy Dicky.
I thought this was where all my
What a
plots of
show you did
Hollywood
today,
Spurs
Wade.
would wind
Hell
up.
of a show. That was amazing.
Oh my God, did I have a stroke? I can't see anybody.
I don't know, did you?
Guys,
We just went offline and came right back in. Weird.
Are y'all?
Stroke man.
Ha!
Wow, I just watched it.
Hi, Fiddler.
I'm proud.
Eastern Indian tribe.
What happened to Randy?
Very
Randy
cool.
was here. Did he go?
Randy was here, and then he came up with some sarcasm and he left. I don't know.
Oh,
The guess he wasn't feeling good. I don't know.
Self-emulated.
I haven't seen him in a long time. I was gonna ask him.
He was in costume and everything.
Yeah,
oh man.
maybe he'll
He
be
was
back.
dressed up as Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom.
Is he on? He's on.
Tell him to come back over here.
Hold on.
As long as he can remain quiet until spoken to.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
What you mean stream, Kirsten?
Music.
Music? You could put it in the stream if you want to.
Yeah. Okay.
But you got haunted music or something?
Yeah.
Band? Band gonna do something?
So Wade has some.
If I am, I haven't been notified yet.
Notified. You should just ask.
I would ask.
Never mind.
I would ask. I wouldn't notify you.
Streaming in case Boston wants to watch.
So whoever's got a group tag, put it in.
Okay. Thank you.
What tag is that again?
It says Hooligans Roadside.
Okay.
Oh,
Good
they're
plan.
laughing underground.
Yeah, because I can't do
I
anything
got
with
a
it right
couple of
now.
different ones for you guys.
Who's
but-
got Hooligan Roadside?
Everybody in here should have it.
Hooligan Road.
I do not have it.
Well, supposed to join the group.
I thought I
I'm
did.
in the group.
He's got Hooligan on.
He's in
Although
the,
everybody doesn't have streaming right. Managers do. Kirsten does. Pat does. Lisa does.
I have laughing
Okay,
underground.
Christian, if you'll drop that into the land,
Are we on?
it's going.
I would do it, but I don't want to open up that window because I'm streaming.
Where is that ghost sound coming from?
Do you
Probably
have
the ghost in the graveyard behind you. Maybe.
you have the link to your music now? Do you have music here?
Who, me?
Yes.
Yes. Full throttle, something or another. Oh, you're asking me if I have a copy. I don't.
I have 3 days grace.
That's Lisa. I
I'll copy
can't.
it for you.
That's well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Mighty nice though.
I almost de-rented Lisa.
You know, if you
Oh,
click that
no!
plus sign next to it, it saves it, so you can just hit the drop down and add it.
Oh,
Oh, she's got like ghost things coming off her head.
Turn your
Oh, I'll be
I'm gonna
damned
do
it
that
does.
put it on
Okay.
the stream.
I did.
I don't see her legs squeak.
Howdy, y'all.
Alright, I added it. If you want to give it to me, I'll put it in.
There,
All right.
I know.
I just did it. Is it working?
Okay.
Damn it.
Hey.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, it's working.
I
3
read
days ago.
Randy
That's radio though.
That's the radio, yeah.
in the TP, and I haven't heard back
yet.
from her.
Well, I'm transmitting. So,
Oh, I don't hear it. Maybe I need to toggle.
Maybe that's a good idea.
I need to
But
read
you're gonna
all
play haunted
honestly.
music or something, right? You're not gonna play
yeah, it's the
Oh,
Exorcist.
shit.
It's the
I wanna
Exorcist
say
stuff.
something
It's
about
just
it.
a background
But I
thing.
need to read all of a second.
She didn't put yours in, Wade.
I
You
did.
didn't put mine in?
It didn't save it if you did. It still
didn't
says activate full throttle radio.
Hold on. I'm having technical difficulties here.
We all
Okay.
are.
Take your time. Take your
We are
time.
technical
Is it in?
difficulties.
Yeah, it's the
Stand
name of
by
our
with
new
us,
group.
See?
people.
Gonna
Name of our new
figure
group.
out.
Technical difficulties.
And while we're figuring it
Yeah,
out, let us entertain you.
And then hit enter.
Control V. That's the one that is.
Okay, now hit enter and close out of the thing.
Well, hold on. Well, that's what it was in there when I looked at it.
Oh, that's not
Yeah.
what comes up when you click play music.
Okay, do you hear music?
No, I don't have the radio. But no.
No, now there's nothing playing. Let me look at it.
I mean, I copied and paste. That's pretty basic. I can do that.
I just order that and be done with it.
Okay, I've
I'm
got
gonna
it.
need
It's
to-
playing. Okay, it's playing, folks. Look, right
Okay.
here in
Okay.
local, it tells you it's playing. However, she asked me to make sure it was really low. So it's not
Yeah.
it's not supposed to be interrupting us. It's just supposed to be a little background thing.
Ow.
I just had
I'll be right, I'll be
there.
right back. I can't hear.
Well,
No,
I'm
I'm
turning it on for the video.
Okay.
So, the only thing we're gonna hear is what's bleeding through you guys' microphone.
I have Doken the Hunter coming up next. Is that the what you have, Wade?
No, it's Exodus. It's going to be this the entire time.
I've toggled and it's not coming.
It's not coming.
But I see it in
yeah.
local.
I see Doc and the Hunter.
That's what I see.
Okay,
This
now,
is what I see coming up in local,
Uh
and I hear it.
alright.
I have.
I've been-
You have to have your music
Now
on?
playing the Exorcist,
Yeah.
ring the bells.
oh. Okay,
That's
I
it, Cassie.
quit.
Okay, turn that down.
Please.
Mine's not working. Fuck it.
Johan is here. Johan, I haven't seen him forever, man. How's it going with the kid?
Hey, Johan.
Hi, Cassie.
Hey, Wawa. How you doing?
I'm gonna go out and come back, I think. It's not, my radio's not working, that one.
I want to come and go back.
Oh, I'm just gonna leave it off.
I can see
Randy
legs
come
now,
back
but
yet?
I'm just sitting down.
Yeah, Randy's here.
I don't know.
Welcome back.
Man, everything's backwards over here.
What'd you do, five?
I'm hiding. Modded.
Where am I?
What's showing up like it's... Oh no.
Get laggy.
Uh,
I'm just gonna stand here by this tree.
That's a good tree.
That is a good tree.
It is. It's dead.
Great,
Good.
good.
Right.
Moving-
It's still a good tree.
Okay, not that one. Hey,
Hey, Johan's there. Hey, Johan.
Hello.
What's the
Oh,
Hey, Jim.
through this way, something.
Hey, you dumb Swede, how you doing?
I'm okay, thanks. And you?
Yeah, how's it going with your new kid? With your kid, how's that going?
Oh, they're annoying. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. You should didn't have me as a kid.
Are we
Thank
talking about kidding?
God, thank God our child was 36
Hey,
years old.
Randy! Well, that looks cool, Randy. Dang, Nick's got the idea. I should do this. That's pretty cool. He's sitting in the dry area on the dock. Nick is sitting on the dock
Right.
of the bay.
Porcelana.
How are you, my dear? Is everything good?
Things
On the stage, in the clearing,
making progress on the
in the swamp.
Hi, honey.
You sparkle in the dark. Yeah.
You still got people popping in, right?
I just got here.
Go a couple more minutes.
So
got
Chalice,
the
you got the
technical
boat put to
things.
rights?
What?
Yeah, she's sitting straight up and down now, but I got the cleat back on today. Still just have to do the stanchions, but at least I got the cleat on before this new weather comes in. We're gonna get some weather starting tomorrow. That's not gonna be pleasant.
More rain.
I wish. No wind from the worst direction possible for this stupid ass marina. It's gonna be bad. Yeah, it's gonna be like Helene was. Worse. It's gonna be worse than Helene was.
Oh my God, that's
You got
scary.
another hurricane coming?
Yeah.
Helene was
I
kind of
saw
weak.
that coming
But
in.
look, there's a front coming and a strong high pressure, and it's gonna
Begins
send.
with N. What's the name of it? Nadine or something?
No, it's not that. We got a high pressure, and it's gonna send northeast winds, basically a nor'easter, in the 20 knot range. And that's what Helene was in the 20 knot range.
Front's pushing through New Orleans tonight. So
Yeah,
it'll
it's
be
the
heading your way
yeah.
like tomorrow night probably. Or the next day.
Yeah, same thing here too. Gonna be chilly after that, man. Gonna be chilly.
I went and found my jacket. I'm ready.
There you go.
Smart move.
You got your galoshes?
Galoshes.
I got Lafitte Reeboks.
You got your phone charged up?
Shrimping boots. Alright. How's everybody doing tonight?
You're doing great tonight.
Good, if I know how to use the viewer.
That's awesome. Y'all look good. Scary.
Yeah, everybody's all nicely dressed up and everything.
Apart from me.
Oh, I should put my
completely
costume on.
difficult,
I'm scared.
So welcome everybody to another Tuesday of standing room only.
Woo!
However, tonight we're doing things, as y'all can see, a little bit different. And this was Kirsten's idea. So if y'all don't like it, it's her fault.
Come this way, Moses.
I love that idea. It's an awesome idea.
Person under the bus. Yep.
Tonight we're going to be telling some
This door
scary,
of enter.
haunted stories. Something to fit in with Halloween. Now, it could be funny, as long as it's got a little bit of scare to it.
It'll be a little sexy, too.
And we ain't got no time limit. So if while y'all listening to me, y'all want to Google up some stories and come tell your first one, you're more than welcome to do that. As always, open mic. Oh, cool. So I'm going to start us off with one. And then we'll let y'all take it from there. I guess Stan didn't get the creepy music on because I don't hear it.
I hear it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
going.
What do you hear it through? The music?
We'll just
or-
hit the radio.
Damn, I'm showing Ozzy Osbourne. Suicide
Rock.
Solution.
Yeah, that's rock.
Yeah, that's not what I'm playing, but
Alright, well,
heard
I'm gonna turn
spooky
mine
stuff.
off then.
Right, Cassie's hearing it, so I don't
That's
know
what I
what's
was
going
I
on.
getting
hear it.
to.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Lonnie's hearing it.
Alright,
Hi.
That's okay.
it's
Can you
alright
hear it
because y'all gonna be
now?
paying attention.
Yeah, we gotta listen to stories.
Alright, so here we go. Make pretend that I'm talking in the best Cajun accent y'all ever did hear,
Right.
even if it ain't true.
That's not
Alright,
for you.
around New Orleans, as some of y'all know, the land down here is so low and wet that we have to bury our dead people above ground. This is just a
Right.
background. We don't bury them below ground because, you know, they'll pop up like a balloon.
Right.
Oof, come out the ground, and it's never good when corpses start popping up out the ground.
Oh.
I know.
All right, down the river a little ways from New Orleans, there once lived an old man with his only child, Teresa. Now, Teresa's mama had died, and Teresa was living in the care of her papa. Now, her papa was a greedy, miserly man who worked that child like a mule, and he dressed her in rags. Now, though she was getting of marrying age, he would not allow anybody, any young men, to court her. She saw nobody except her mean old papa. Now, all he ever cared about were the gold coins that he kept hidden under a loose board in the floor beneath his bed. And every night he'd lock the bedroom door, and by the light of the flickered candle, he'd count his golden coins. He loved the way they clinked and glowed and weighed so heavily in his old hands. Now, poor Teresa, she was so lonesome. Every night she'd come knocking on his door. Knock, 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 like this. And every night, Papa would yell out, "Who's there?" Papa said, "Moi." She said, "It's me. Papa, let me in. Talk with me. I'm too lonely." But Papa would only holler back, "Girl, get out of here. Get back to work. You only want to get your hands on my gold, and that'll be over my dead body." And so it went until one night, knock on the door. "Who's there?" "Papa, it's me, Teresa. I'm sick. Papa, let me in." But he just yells back, "You lazy good for nothing. Get out of here. You're not getting your hands on my gold." Again and again, Teresa returned to her father's door. Knock, knock, knock. "Papa, say moi, baby. Papa, let me in. I'm sick. I need to heal him. Please. Papa, let me in." But Papa's heart was as cold as his golden coins. At last, the girl's cries faded to silence, and she knocked no more. The old man was suddenly full of curiosity, and so he opened up the door. There, lying lifeless on the porch floor, was Teresa.
Oh no.
The old man was too stingy to buy a vault for his daughter. Instead, he laid Teresa in a crude wooden coffin and buried her in a shallow, swampy grave down by the old cypress tree.
Oh no.
Now the neighbors, they all shook their heads. They warned there would be trouble. How could poor Teresa rest in peace in such a grave? 3 weeks went by, and a storm began to coil up in the Gulf of Mexico. The winds churned, and the rains fell. Night found the old man sitting in his room, counting his gold coins by the flickering candlelight. Outside, the wind howled and blew sheets of rain against the house. The old man, he didn't know that the river had already spilled over the levee and sent its dark waters across the land. He sat in his rocking chair with a lap full of gold, rocking and counting. 1, 2, 3. Suddenly, something thumped up against the porch with a hollow wooden clatter. Knock, 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 sounded at his door. Who's there? The old man hollered. Something, only a great sigh like the wind answered. Just a loose shutter, he thought, and went on counting his shiny gold. Knock, 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 pounded at his door. This time it was stronger. Who's there? He yelled out, but only a whining wind answered him. Just a good-for-nothing hound dog trying to get in, he thinks. So he returns to his hands, counting his coins. It's almost over, y'all. It's a long one. Knock, knock, knock. 3 great booming knocks hammered at his door. Who's there?
What?
Only a low, sad moaning. A cold shiver ran down the man's back. Storm's got you all jumpy, he says to himself. It's just the wind blowing. That's all. It's that old oak tree out
Cat
there.
and the cat.
But the moaning rose, and it rose above the wailing wind until it became a horrifying scream. Papa, c'est moi. Therese, let me in. Let me in. Now, as the eye of the storm passed over his house, a blood-curdling shriek pierced the dead calm. Now 3 days had passed, and the waters receded. Neighbors came by to check on the old man. They rode onto his land, and as they passed by the cypress tree, they saw that the flood had washed all the dirt away from Teresa's grave. Her grave was empty. Now they knocked at the back door. No one answered. Fearing the old man had maybe died, they went inside. They found him sitting like stone in his rocking chair, cold as stone, his hair gone snow white, a silent
Ted?
scream frozen on his face, and his eyes bulged out in glassy terror. Across the room, the door hung limp from one hinge as though a monstrous fist had pounded it down. Before it lay a battered, splintered coffin, and inside, the gruesome corpse of Teresa. Her withered hands clutched her papa's golden coins,
Ah.
Wow.
Oh.
and a ghastly smile lay fixed upon her decaying lips.
Ooh.
Hot damn.
Gary.
It goes
All
on,
right,
but
I'm
I'm gonna end it
scared.
right there. That's a good enough place to end.
Well done, Nick.
That's
Well done.
good. That's very
Well,
All right. I got chills reading it, yo.
good job.
All right. I think I took up a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So we're
18
gonna do
minutes.
open mic as usual, as always. And whoever wants to come up next, come forward.
I would love to go first, please.
Come through the darkness.
Wade wants to go.
Hey, I am more than willing to sit back and let y'all do it. I'll listen to ghost
You
stories.
gonna do it? Okay.
All right, Catboy.
Okay?
Yay,
Hey, you haven't been
Catboy.
in front of an audience in a
Hey,
while.
Catboy. Way to go, Catboy.
You're-
Way to go.
All right, you
Usually
gotta
I do
sit in the
comedy.
chair.
Tonight I'm gonna tell scary stories.
Give
I
us
got a
the-
short
Yeah.
one.
Sitting
and a
in the
long
chair.
one. Well, not really a llama, but a longer
You
one.
just
Hold
don't
on, I'm gonna
listen
sit
to
in the
me.
chair. My short story is, it's a personal one. When I was a kid, I was living in Quebec, around 20
There you
miles
go.
outside Montreal, and I had my own little monster under the bed that everyone had, every kid had, right? It was called the Minowayu. I don't know where I got that name from,
Why?
right? But I didn't even give it a face or anything. Like it never really had any kind of shape. It was just something that was always in the darkness, grumbling. I bet my dad snoring didn't help with that. Yeah. Anyway, and then as a kid, you just grow up, you forget about these things, blah blah blah. You move on, and later I'm in college. It's in Toronto, and I met an anthropologist who was studying at the University of Toronto, and we were talking about where we're from, and I mentioned that I grew up in a town of Beloit, Quebec, and they said, "Wow, that is an amazing coincidence. We just found out evidence of a lost tribe of Indians on the Richelieu River. Richelieu River goes right by Beloit and Otterburn, Quebec. They were called the Minowayu.
What?
Wow.
And there is no way I could have heard that name when I was a kid because no one even knew that this tribe existed until I was in college.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's up with that. And I asked as much as I could about the Minowayu, and literally almost nothing is known about them because I asked, like, well, what did they look like? And the Algonquin had just basically amalgamated the region, like all of the smaller tribes, whatever. They all became one larger tribe, which happened with the Algonquin. And apparently the Minowayu would not amalgamate. They were xenophobes. They would murder anyone that got anywhere near them, to the point where the Algonquin had hunted them down and killed them off.
Wow.
And they said, you only saw a Minowayu when probably you would be dead the second you saw it. And that's the only thing I ever learned about them. So,
Wow.
cannot
That's such
explain
a-
that.
Wow. Yeah, maybe you can't. Maybe there is none.
No, I don't have an explanation for that. All right, here we go. Now, I have a story here. It's a fictional story, hopefully a scary one. This is a story that I titled, A Girl Playing with Dolls at the End of the World. It all starts with a bunch of deputies. They're dragging a woman out of her house. They found out that she'd been keeping a child in there away from, they wouldn't send her to school, wouldn't let her play outside, wouldn't let her do anything. I found out it was obviously a case of abuse, so they sent in Child Protection Services. And as the deputies dragged the woman, the mother, outside, she pleaded with everyone. She said if she gets out of that room, everybody dies. Everyone.
Ooh.
Everyone
That's
just assumed, she's crazy. The mother was dragged off by the deputy, screaming like a mad woman, claiming that her child was the devil or something like that. The sheriff stood next to the social worker, the Child Protection Service agent, who worked like a private detective looking for children who slipped through the cracks. It seemed like this one had slipped through the cracks over 20 years before. After the child endured a string of strange hospital visits, had undergone experimental drug therapies, all of which were extremely mysterious and almost had no official records. The social worker pulled out a smartphone out from under his heavily wrinkled overcoat, and he checked a few messages. He said, if it weren't for some old hard copy records for kindergarten application, we never would have known this girl existed. The sheriff asked, well, how did you come across any records of her? And the social worker said, well, some scam artist was using what she thought was the record of a deceased kid to make phony ID. She used the birth certificate from city records, then made the usual applications for social assistance, and she had at least half a dozen IDs doing this. When we followed up on the real ID, it turned out there was no record of this kid actually dying. There was no record of anything. There was no school, no library card, no hospital records past age of 5. However, there was a record of them claiming her as a dependent on their tax returns. The sheriff said, they claimed this kid as a dependent for 20 years, and no one ever looked up why this kid was not attending school? The sheriff was just flabbergasted. And the social worker said only the IRS would follow up on that, and they thought these people were cheating on their taxes. Obviously, they were. One of the deputies approached the sheriff, a young, well-educated man. He had a strange look on his face. We found something strange about the entrance, said the deputy. Well, what is it? Asked the sheriff. Well, the room is hermetically sealed. Over here, you can see it's receiving air from a sophisticated air filtration system. Why would they bother with that? Asked the sheriff. Deputy speculated, well, what if the kid has some sort of autoimmune deficiency, like HIV or something like that, and this is the extent the parents had to go through to keep the kid alive? The sheriff said, sounds plausible, I guess. The social worker looked around the room and he saw nothing but regular kitchen supplies. He said, you know what, they fed this kid sending in just regular food. I don't see any evidence they sterilized it, like anything like that going in. And the mother said, they put bunny rabbits and stuff in there. I mean, if you're going to protect the kid from an infection, that's not what you would do. The deputy pointed to a large glass wall to a secondary chamber. He said, there's evidence they sterilized things coming out. What if she's a carrier of some kind? Well, a carrier of what? Asked the social worker. If it was anything deadly, she would have died by now, or it would have long run its course, and she's no longer infectious. I mean, she's been in there for 20 years. Social worker pointed to several religious objects all around the house, including satanic symbols. Social worker continued, there's all kinds of evidence these people are just crazy. They said their daughter was unclean, unholy. They said she was trying to protect the world from her filth and her fury, or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. It's obvious this person's probably in desperate need of clinical care. And we have to do what we need to get her out of there. The outer door, a giant sliding sealed electric hatch, was hacked into by deputies by rigging the electronic control panel, which was fortunate as part of the house would have to have been dismantled to force it open physically. This led to the primary chamber, a room filled with hanging hoses for sterilizing various equipment. It was a clean tiled room and like something out of a hospital. There was also an entrance to a secondary chamber, which was something different. It was just a crude looking metal door that was heavily insulated, as the outer chamber, for some reason, was kept unusually cold. The second door was kept locked with a simple padlock. The deputy took a sledgehammer and busted it open with a single swing. After pulling the padlock off, the social worker stepped forward. Listen, I better go in first, he said. This young woman has never seen another human being outside of her own parents for 20 years. Okay, this is going to be a terrible shock for her. I'm trained in this sort of thing. I'll try to talk her out, but keep the deputies on standby in case she starts to freak out, all right? Sheriff nodded. Social worker pulled on the door. It was thinner than he was expecting, and it swung aside easily. The walls inside were dark, yet the room was well lit. There were strings of lights, and on the wallpaper was almost black. The floor scattered with broken dolls. The corpse of a bunny rabbit could be seen. Its inside splayed out like some kind of beast tore it open. And then he saw the girl. She looked much healthier than the social worker was expecting, extremely pale due to no exposure of sunlight. Perhaps a little underweight for her age, but no doubt a healthy-looking young woman with well-kept hair and beautiful azure blue eyes. She regarded the man with no hint of fear.
I'm gonna
She asked, "Are you here for the tea party?" Listen, said the social worker, my name is Darren Logan. I'm here to get you out of here. The young woman looked over the man and thought he was attractive, as he was not too much older than herself. For a moment, she wondered if she was supposed to feel this way towards strange men. "Did you bring any tea?" asked the girl. "Listen carefully. You've been trapped in this room for at least 20 years, but we're here to get you out." "Out?" asked the girl. "Yes, out," said the social worker. "We can help you. You're free to go, you understand." The young woman faced away from the door like she had no interest in it at all. She turned her back to the social worker, trying to help her. "You didn't bring any tea?" she asked. "Well, no, I'm sorry, there's no tea." Those were the last words he would ever say. No tea, thought the young woman. That will not do. You can't have a tea party without tea. Outside, the sheriff heard a bone-shattering scream. He ran to the entrance and lived just long enough to see the insides of the social worker explode all over the inside of the room. Black-covered figure, covered in blood, headed towards the primary chamber. The deputies let off a few explicatives, pulled out their firearms, and died as quickly as the social worker did. Someone standing outside might have witnessed and understood how the world ended that day. A few gunshots from inside a shamble of a wooden house. A girl walking outside wearing a dress that at one time was white with baby blue trim was now nearly all black with human blood. Whatever she was something that was never meant to be in this world. If no one was going to bring the tea party to her, then she was just going to have to bring the tea party to them. That's it.
Dang. That's
Wow.
good.
My
Oh, that's
scary
spooky.
story.
Oh, I
My
wish.
scary story.
Great.
Oh man, it's
Okay.
got a lot of shivers. Way to go, Catboy!
Good
Way
job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That cat boy?
Well done. Oh, I'm
Alright, I'm
shivering.
gonna come up here just to say who else is coming up here. I think I can.
Cat boy, did you write that story?
I do it, Nick.
Alright. Come on.
Please stop with the puking.
I'm talking in Second Life, but they ain't hearing me.
Can't see where I'm going.
All things puking, huh?
But do I get to rock? Yay, I do get to rock.
Yay!
Alright, that's doing weird things. I don't want to rock anymore. Alright, folks. I was making my camera do weird things. I didn't like that. So, these are true stories. These are what happened to me as a kid. Believe it, don't believe it. I'm not here to convince you to believe in ghosts or not believe in ghosts or what have you. I can only tell you what I've experienced. Y'all know that y'all have heard one of my stories about my childhood about my grandmother who beat me with a tree. Sweetest lady in the world until you eat her strawberries. She wonderful lady, absolutely wonderful. But I had to be probably 4, maybe 5 years old when this happened. We were there during the summer visiting my grandmother. It was cool. My family from Piedmont runs the gamut on wealth. From my grandmother who lived in this really bad trailer to one of my uncles who had a pool building business and did really, really well with it. So we had that was a spread in our family. And we would all gather around in the summer, when we were coming in, because I was a military brat. We were gone most of the time, so when it was time for us to come in, it was a big deal. So the family would gather. My mother was the youngest of 13 kids, so it's a big family now. And we're there one time visiting, and we had all gone to bed, and everything seemed normal, right? We all went to bed. Got up the next morning, and I walked out, and all the adults are kind of standing around looking real somber, real upset. And I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't, I'm 4 or 5 years old. I wanted to play, and nobody would play with me. And my mom comes walking out of her bedroom. It's a bedroom that she grew up in, that she lived in since she was the last kid to go. It stayed that way. It was her bedroom. And in this bedroom were these Russian nesting dolls, if you know what those are. That it keeps going down until you get to the smallest nesting doll that sits inside them. Russian
They're so
nesting
full of
dolls.
themselves.
Yeah. So my mom comes out, and everybody's kind of standing there all somber, and my mom looks around and says, "Where's Sarah?" And everybody stopped. I mean, you felt the air leave the room. Even as a little kid, I knew this was weird. And everybody stops and looks at my mom, and they're like, "What?" And she was like, "Well, last night she came into my bedroom at like 2 a.m, and she was playing with my nesting dolls. And I told her that she had to go to bed because it was, it's bedtime. And I assumed she got up and went to bed with her parents. Where is she? Because I I don't see her or her parents here. And they're like, they just kind of stared at her like, what are you talking about? And, you know, my mom said, look, and you saw the nesting dolls were actually all set out just like Sarah used to do. And I remember my grandmother walking over to my mom and touching her on the head and pulling her close and hugging her. And I of course have no idea what's going on. And then she tells her that the day before, my uncle had been building a pool and nobody was watching Sarah.
Oh no.
And she fell in the hole
Oh no.
and drowned.
Terrible.
That's awful.
Wow.
Oh no.
So that night, Sarah had come and paid my mother a visit and did the one thing she loved, which was playing with those nesting dolls.
Wow.
Wow. Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow.
You make me cry over here. Oh,
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to make you cry. I mean, that's kind of spooky to me. You know,
I
that's
think
It is. Trust me, it is.
the dead girl came and played with it. Yeah, it was messed up.
Yeah.
Like Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh man.
I
That's really...
I remember hearing the story. I remember as my mom told her, you know, as everything was going on. I remember that, but just the way everybody reacted, it was weird. And my family, I think they've always believed in that kind of stuff. I mean, my aunt Barbara was a pig farmer. She got the middle two fingers on her right hand cut off.
Ooh.
And she was
Wow.
doing something she wasn't supposed to be doing as a kid. And she got those cut off. And they tell me the story that she would complain that she felt like they were crossed. And they're like, what are you talking about? Your fingers aren't there. She said, no, these two fingers are crossed. They're always crossed. And they're like, no, you don't have those two fingers anymore. You know, she's a little girl, and they're trying to explain to her that those fingers are gone. And she's trying to tell them, no, they're crossed. It feels weird, they're crossed. They went and dug up the shoebox where they had put her fingers, and sure enough, her fingers were crossed in that shoebox.
No.
They set them out straight. She never complained about it again. So there's some.
I guess not.
Well, you know, science proves it through physics that man cannot create or destroy energy.
Right? It all has
So-
to go somewhere.
It has to go somewhere. That's right.
Somewhere it goes to somewhere.
So we are living in California, in Merced, California. I am just shy of going to kindergarten. I remember this very clearly. So I'm 5 years old. I was born in February, so I had to start the next September. Right? So I'm 5.5 years old when it's getting ready. I can remember we were getting ready to go to school. My dad had gotten a new assignment, and we ended up in Merced, California. And we had rented this house because, you know, as an E2, that's about all you can do is rent anything. And so we're in there, and my dad was pulling a lot of night duties. Well, me and my mom would sit there and watch our little television and then go to bed, right? But we're in this house, and I remember hearing a ball bouncing in the hallway. And I'd tell my mom, there's a ball. Where's the ball? I want the ball. And my mom's like, there's no ball. Mom, I can hear you bouncing the ball in the hallway. She said, I'm not bouncing the ball in the hallway. We don't have a ball. And you're not supposed to play with the ball in the house anyway. So this goes on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And one night we're sitting there, and the lights have gone out. And my mom, I remember we're sitting there with candles, and my mom's reading books to me to try to keep me from being scared, right? And we're reading by candlelight. And then I hear the ball. And I tell my mom, I hear the ball. There's a ball, who's got the ball? And my mom start to say there's no, and then she stopped and looked up because she heard it too. And so we are sitting there, and I'm now starting to get scared. My mom's trying to be brave, but you can feel it. You know, when something's going wrong, you can feel it, especially if somebody's hugging you, you can feel it. And we looked towards the hall because the ball started getting closer and closer and closer. And we looked towards the hall, and this little boy came down the hall bouncing one of those red dodgeballs. You know what I'm talking about? The ones that they use for dodgeball, the red ball. Four square. We called them four square balls back then. Yeah, it was a four square ball because that's what we played. And he's bouncing this four square ball, and he comes out. And he stops and looks at us, and my mom, I could hear the quiver in her voice. I'm, of course, freaking out. I'm like, who is that boy? Who is that boy? And my mom's got this quiver in her voice, and she looks at him, and she says, you don't live here anymore. At which the boy holds his ball and looks at my mom and had this weird look on his face and then went away. Never heard the ball again, never saw the boy again.
Wow. He needed permission to leave.
I guess.
So, yeah,
but
good point. Like I say.
my mom was scared. I was scared. It
I would
was
have been.
freaking terrifying.
Like how he
Wow.
was told not to play ball in the house is what it
Yeah.
He finally got it.
Maybe.
Probably the
Maybe.
next door neighbor's
That's
kid.
amazing.
All right, my last one, and this is, I'll tell you this one, and then I'll get up and let somebody else have their shot. We were living in California. This is still back then, and the way this house was built was you had it's like a shotgun shack, but it wasn't because they put the back door in one of the bedrooms instead of just straight through. If y'all know what a shotgun shack is. If you don't, a shotgun shack is where you can stand at the front door, fire a shotgun, and go out the back door.
Right.
That's a big thing down here in the South. Everybody got a shotgun shack somewhere. So they had actually, to try to be different, put the back door in one of the bedrooms, in the smaller bedroom. So I've got my bedroom. That actually was my bedroom because it was a smaller bedroom. The master bedroom was a bigger bedroom. My parents took that one, right? I can remember I used to fall asleep at night when I was in kindergarten and first grade, and there was this light, I don't know, it looked like a capsule or something floating above my bed. Every night I would fall asleep to that. And for some reason, it didn't bother me. I felt kind of safe, right? So I would fall asleep to it every night. And I would tell my mom, I'd get up and tell my mom, the light was there last night. She's like, oh, honey, it's nothing. I kept saying it. Finally, she kept going, okay, baby, it's your granddad watching over you. You know, whatever. Just go on, get ready for school. You know, that kind of thing. One night I went to bed and the light was there. And I had a great night's sleep. I woke up that morning and my bed, which was a solid oak bed, twin size, had been pushed against the back door, moved from the wall, slid over 5 feet, and pushed flat against the back door. Because the back door opened in, so it was pushed flat against the back door.
Wow.
I was 5 years old. I couldn't have moved that thing. It was really a solid oak bed. My dad comes in and sees what is going on, and he gets ready to yell at me for moving my bed. My mom comes in because she hears my dad yell, "What the fuck?" My mom comes in and she's like, what's going? And she looks and sees, and she takes assessment of the situation. She's like, Joe, my dad's name, there's no way Wade could have moved that bed. Are you kidding me? You and I can barely move that bed. And my dad's angry about it, right? He's like, God, blah, 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 bitching. And my mom's like, how did the bed move? But what's going on? And I didn't know. I slept. My dad's all mad. He gets over there and he grabs the bed and he's all angry. So he yanks the bed and finally gets it out of the way of the back door. And he's growling at us and he pulls open the back door. in that door was a hand axe where somebody had tried to cut through that back door. Get in the house.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
So whatever that was saved my and my parents' life that night.
Wow. Holy
So
crap.
there you go. That's a little bit of my childhood. Those are true stories. Like I said, I'm not trying to convince you anything's real. I'm not trying to convince you that the afterlife exists at all. But those are what I've dealt with. All right, thank you
That
for
was
having.
scary.
Alright, Lee.
Mine
Way
tail
to go,
Awesome.
Wade.
Awesome.
Hey,
Awesome.
very
That was
cool.
great.
Scary.
Scary.
We came here for scary. We got
Up
scary.
next.
Ooh. All right. Well done, Wade.
Dan? All right.
I'll go.
Hey, Dan's going up there. Hey,
Hey,
Dan.
man.
All right, good job, Dan.
I'm gonna go classical here, and I figured I'd do the Raven. Well, let me get a drink here real quick and get my voice on. The Raven, Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over a many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Oh, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden who the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what the thread is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, in this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisant made he, not a minute stop or stayed he, but with mien of lord and lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's plutonium shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled at this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, I said, what it utters is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird, and bust and door. And then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy onto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining, that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with lamplight a gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God had lent thee, by these angels he had sent thee, respite nepenthe, from the memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm of Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by the God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore? Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore? Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked up starting. Get thee back into the tempest of the night's plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws of his shadow on the floor. And from my soul out that shadow lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore.
Wow.
Ooh, that was creepy.
Thank you.
That was creepy.
Sam.
Way to go,
Quoth the
Sam.
raven, nevermore.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, man.
I'm
That
not
was
a fan.
awesome.
I'm gonna have to admit, the first time I read that all the way through, it was in a copy of Mad Magazine.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't doubt it.
All right, who's up next?
Well, I have a story, but it's not near as good
Ooh,
as
suck it
Wade's
to him.
was.
Okay, all right.
We're
Let's
not.
hear
This
it.
is
We
not
want
a
to hear.
contest.
All right,
No.
I'll try.
Right. It's not a contest.
All right.
This is it's important to know that first of all, my mother is the second youngest of 13 children. So my grandmother died when I was probably in third or fourth grade, because my middle sister wasn't born yet. So I am 19 years old. I'm a new mother and I have twins. I am a full-time college student going for my medical degree.
Good for you.
And yep. And my husband was in the military. So you know, when you have twins, you're exhausted, and they were about 3.5 months old, and they slept in the same crib together in the room next to ours. And I was one of those mothers that I never took any medication, not even cough medicine, because it might make me drowsy. I might not hear my kids.
Good for you.
I was a very, I do it. My mother and I got in a fight over if she could watch my kids good enough, you know? Type mother. I overdid it to the extremes. So I finally take my first nap. I was sick. I take my first nap while they're sleeping, and I leave my husband to listen for him. And I'm in the middle of this nap, and I hear, my real name is Heather. I hear, Heather, get up. Heather, get up. And then I heard, Heather, get up now. And my grandmother is hovering over the end of my bed, screaming at me. And I heard my son take his last gasp.
Oh.
Skids had
Man.
hit my son, and I rushed in there. And of course, thank gosh, you know, I was a medical student. We got him breathing again. But it was just, I remember her as if she was, I mean, she wasn't transparent. She wasn't anything. She was right there. And I heard that screaming. And then my husband walks in at the time, not the one I have now, but my first husband. And he's like, who was that lady yelling at you? And why? Did you have the TV on?
Wow.
And I just went ghost white as I held my baby who was crying by that point. So I told you, it's nowhere as amazing
And he
as
survived?
Wade. He is alive. He is
That's
just,
awesome.
is about to turn 30
Yeah,
this
isn't
year.
it?
But I mean, she was right there at the corner of my bed screaming at me, Heather, get up. Get up now.
Wow. Wow, that's
Oh.
something.
Your guardian angel.
Yeah,
That's
you
right,
got
that's
an angel.
All right, nice.
Awesome.
Woo! Heather! Yeah, Heather!
And right on
All
time,
right.
too.
And look at Jim, y'all. He got some new clothes.
Oh, nice job, Legacy. Well
Thank
done.
you.
All right, thank you.
All right, take it away, Jim.
A man just moved into an apartment and heads to the receptionist to get his keys. The receptionist gave him the key with a smile, but warns him not to disturb the door with no number on his floor. He wondered why, but he didn't bother to ask. He was too busy with his new apartment to care. After he finished unpacking, he began to get curious. He questioned why the receptionist would warn him of such a thing. So he stepped out of his apartment to check the door with no number. He tried the doorknob first, but it was locked. So instead he got onto his knees and he peeked through the keyhole. The apartment he was looking into was empty. His eyes scanned the whole place before stopping at a woman standing face against a wall in the corner. He noticed her pale skin and long black hair before stepping back, suddenly feeling perverted in a way for invading someone else's privacy. He brushed it off, assuming she was someone that did not want to be disturbed. The next day he got more curious about the woman, eventually went back, straight away, getting onto his knees. He peeked through the keyhole and he saw all red. Red. He assumed that the pale woman must have caught him peeking the last time and covered the hole with something, maybe a red cloth napkin. He left the door alone and instead went down to the receptionist to ask her questions. The receptionist sighed and asked, "You looked through the keyhole, didn't you?" He admitted to it. so she felt obliged to tell him the story. She told him that a couple used to live in that apartment long time ago, but the husband went crazy and killed his wife. However, this couple wasn't normal. They had pale skin, black hair, and red eyes.
Ooh, that's scary.
Wow.
I'm scared.
Red
Oh, I got it. They were looking back.
Ah, that was good. Vampire.
Well done, Jim. Well done.
Yeah, I like that one.
That
You
was
going up,
good.
Lee?
I can, I guess.
Lee, up you go.
Hey, Lisa.
I took my AO off. I'm walking like a duck. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
you got no
what's going
pants on.
Nothing
Way to
scared.
go,
That's all
Jimbo!
right. You don't have legs.
on? Okay. I'm gonna start off with actually
No Pants Tuesday.
I never wear
I
pants.
have no underwear on.
Yes, he does.
I'm gonna start with the a real life story that happened to me when I was in high school. Parents in the 70s, you got all kinds. I got Kreskin's ESP with the cards and all this different stuff, and I also got a Ouija board. And as a kid, you know, you got sick of asking the same old questions, so had sleepovers and whatnot. We asked the Ouija board what his name was, and it went H-O-D, Todd. And I went, that's odd. And I go, are you related to anyone? And it went, yes. And then I said, well, who are you related to? And it zoomed right in on me, and I went, huh, that's funny. So I got out of the bedroom, went and said, Dad, are we related to anybody named Hod? And he, H-O-D? And he goes, how do you know about that? And I go, oh, we're playing on the Ouija board, and it said that Hod was related to me. And he goes, I had an uncle named Hod who owned a bar in the 1800s who predicted World War II and a lot of other things that happened in the area. And I go, oh, well, that makes me feel really easy. But yeah, I have a picture of him. It's in the bar. His eyes are very, very cold. He had cold eyes, even though it's an old, like, brown and white picture. It's, you know, spittoon at the end of the bar. But it was interesting to know your Ouija board was related to you. But I will.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of scary too. I'm going to tell one little short story. It's called The Last Bus of the Night. A couple of guys were venting about how some of the bus lines they had to catch home were so old and run down. And one said, well, at least we don't have to take that 126 line. The other said, why? It's AC. It's pretty good for this hot weather. You know, it's got air conditioning. And the reply, they're so old, and there are stories about the last outbound bus of the night. Haven't you heard? No, said the other guy. So he started the story. The 126 line goes through the city from one side and ends up on another. It's a long route, but no one knows why they use old rundown buses. There were reports of accidents and deaths. Even if one is unlucky enough to catch that bus at night, especially the last ride, they may find themselves being driven by a ghost driver. So there's this guy who caught the last bus to get home from a party. There were only a few passengers since it was late. And he noticed the bus was going rather slower than normal But since it's an old bus, he thought nothing of it and fell asleep from all the drinking. When he woke up a moment later, there was no one on the bus, not even a driver. The air conditioning had stopped, and he was sweating in the heat. He looked out the window. It was dark, not many cars on the road, but it looked like the bus was still moving, though at a very slow pace, and no sound of the engine. And that's when he remembered the story of the last 126 bus of the night. Is he on a ghost bus? He looked around inside the bus again, still no one. He ran from side to side of the bus, banging on the window, screaming for help, hoping someone would see him. Then he felt the bus come to a slow stop. He waited anxiously, not sure what would happen next. Then a man in the driver uniform opened the door. The man looked all wet and dirty, walked up towards him angrily. The fear kicked in. He screamed louder. The man then shouted at him, "Shut up. It's about..." And he's about to cry, but the man continued, "Good, you're awake. The engine died. We're all outside trying to push the bus to the curb. Come help. Make yourself useful, you pisshead." And that's all.
Great.
I mean, it was funny, but it was
Yeah,
very
that was
funny.
funny.
Fuck you, you
Oh my
jackass.
gosh, I love
Very
that.
good. Very good.
Awesome.
Very good.
Oh, way to go, Gleesra!
Hey, Grisha.
I'll go up and tell a few.
Well, go ahead, bro.
Up you go.
All right.
See, I'm not wasting time getting up there in between. When the chair's empty, jump in it.
Wait a minute. Let's see.
Okay, Legacy.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about history in New England, and I'm talking Mass, New Hampshire, and Maine, and Vermont as well, for the most part, even Connecticut. But back in the 1600s, the Indians were fighting the settlers. I mean, really, really bad. They wanted their land, and the settlers, the Pilgrims, just said, no, they're taking it, right? So they burned down houses and everything else like that, killed families off, massacred them, you know. I've even been to grave sites where I've done grave rubbings of a 2-month-old, just born, you know. And there was a historical sign that said this was during an Indian massacre, 1670 something, whatever. They burned the house to the ground. Anyways, yeah, it was pretty nasty, right? So there were wars happening, and I was from Hamilton, Massachusetts, which is not far from Gloucester, right on the ocean. And there was a tribe there called the Masconomet, and Masconomet was actually the chief. And they had wars, and during this one particular war, enough pilgrims got together to defeat Masconomet and his tribe. In fact, he was killed during the raid. And he was killed because a soldier had cut his leg right off.
Oh.
And he bled to death right there, you know. And that was on top of Blueberry Hill in Hamilton, Mass. And there's a huge granite stone up there. And for years and years and years, I spent centuries, decades. On this granite stone is the imprint of a leg.
Oh,
He was killed right there. And they've sanded it down, and it keeps coming back. They've done it multiple times, and it keeps coming back. They've investigated. No, kids play or nothing fancy. No one's doing it. So they just leave it alone now. It's a true story.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and it keeps coming back. Whoa, that's spooky.
Yeah. And here's another one. I'm going to say about 25, maybe 26, 27 years ago. I took Glee and her parents, my in-laws, and I think my brother-in-law was with us too. Yeah.
And
Norm.
he's a huge German
Yeah.
guy.
Well, I brought them all to the House of Seven Gables in Salem.
Ooh.
Because Salem University was one of my graduate schools to begin with. Anyways, so I lived right down the street from it. It's a really awesome community. A lot of little bars. I played guitar in it. Made a lot of money. It was fun. But anyways, I brought them to the House of Seven Gables because they wanted to see it. And it was like right down the street from where I had an apartment. And we went in. Now, it was built in 1668. And it was built for a man named John Turner, the Turner family. And he wanted 7 gables. So anyways, back then, people were short. The doorways were only 5 feet tall.
Wow.
Right. And so they had tours, and just about everybody, I'd say 99% of people, when you entered another room, had to duck.
Especially
Get through the doorway.
He was huge.
Especially my brother-in-law. No, I'm at 6'7", 500 pounds.
Huge. As wide as he was tall almost.
Oh yeah, he could barely make it through. I think he broke the door jam, but I'm not sure. But anyways, we did the whole tour, and afterwards they give you a little button or something. I saw the House of Seven Gables, whatever it was, and they said that was very interesting. It was knowledgeable. It was the way people lived back in the 1600s. Everyone cooked over the fireplace. You had one pot,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you would cook any kind of meat you could get or vegetables. Everything went in this one pot or whatever it was. Sometimes they'd make a porridge that would last you a week, the family a week, It was tough. And anyways, 3 years goes by, 3 or 4 years. Breaking story. And they found a closet in the House of Seven Gables. In the closet was a hidden room. And we were all opened up the closet and looked in it. But there was a hidden room behind it. And they found the maid and 3 children dead from the late 1600s.
Just bones.
Because the Indians went in and killed the Turner family.
Wow.
That's a true story.
If
They
got
don't mess
stuck in
around,
that
do
room
they?
and
They
couldn't
weren't
get out.
messing around.
Yeah, so when we took the tour, there were 3 dead humans in that building in the House of Seven Gables.
Oh.
It's an
No, thank you.
excellent book too. The House of Seven Gables is a really good
Yeah,
book.
you can read all about it. It's pretty interesting. But that's all I got. Thanks.
All right, good.
Way to go, Fiddler!
I don't know. Why isn't Kirsten up there yet?
Right? This was her idea.
Yeah. Yeah,
Kirsten,
Yeah, Carson.
you tell a story.
I wanted this because I wanted y'all to scare me.
Well,
we-
in that case,
Yeah, because
Who's
you
up
scare
next?
us the rest of
Are
the
you
year. So
scared
I guess
yet?
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, you know, it's. I
No.
think it's a fair
They were
exchange.
good, though.
Yeah. Fair exchange.
all right, so we finished.
Okay, y'all. Are we done?
Guess we're done.
I think we are.
Yeah, it's been an hour.
Would y'all want to do it next week, or do y'all not have any more?
I like this idea.
Yeah, we could do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again. Maybe I'll find something to say. I like
I
your
like
tale there, Nick. Just like Tales from the Crypt. That's Tales from
I've
the Underground.
enjoyed this.
Cover
Yeah,
title,
because
Nick.
we're
Tales from
underground.
Underground. All right,
Yeah.
guys.
Guys.
Everybody, thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing your ghoulish stories with us.
Ivy.
Thank you, Nick.
It was pleasurable, and we decide if we're going to do it next week. We'll decide.
All right.
We can
All
do
right. And thank you, Carson,
Yeah.
for the idea. Thanks, Carson, for the idea.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
Kirsten, Derby
And-
tomorrow. Does it have a theme or anything?
Has a car theme.
It's come play
Demolition.
derby in the middle of the
Alright.
week.
Theme, okay.
The theme of the
It
Derby
was-
is cars.
Yeah.
Right
Cars.
around, bang into each other.
Derby
All right.
on
Like a
Wednesday.
big old automotive orgy.
I think I'm going to nominate someone to come up with a theme for Wednesday.
Wednesday's tomorrow, dude.
All right. Anyway, I'm off to bed. Good night,
All right, good
everyone.
night,
Thanks for
everybody.
coming,
See you,
Kevin.
Signing off.
Thanks for
Good night,
coming.
cowboy. Good night.
Boy, it was great
I'm
to
not
see
actually
you
logging on.
here
You're not gonna
tonight.
tell them about
We'll
the party?